Hi everyone, it's Rachel back with the Shades of Orange, and today I'm here to do a science fiction TBR, or a listing of popular sci-fi books that I haven't read yet but want to. And this is a little bit of response to the top 10 video I did recently talking about all my favorite science fiction books. And while I still do stand by that list, I'll admit I filmed it at the beginning of the year, and since then I have read a lot of great sci-fi books that I wish I had included. And my taste in sci-fi has also changed a little bit. I'm starting to enjoy a lot more classics and harder sci-fi, and so I'd really like to redo the list. But before I do that, I feel like there's a lot of iconic science fiction books I need to read first, just to make sure that they possibly earn a spot among that list, or at least I can say I've read them, and then whatever ranking comes out, so be it. But basically, this is just a really fun video to show you a list of books I'm really excited about, books I want to try out, and hopefully all of you can help me to just prioritize certain books, tell me which ones you think I'm going to enjoy, and yeah, hopefully this is a lot of fun. Let's get started. Now, I should mention I'm not planning on giving really lengthy synopsis for these books, just because typically when I haven't read a book, I like to go into it fairly blind, and quite honestly, I'm going to be able to give you a better premise once I have actually picked it up. The first book I'm interested in is Ringworld by Larry Niven, which I think is about a world where there's literally a ring around it. And I want to read it because it's quite a classic, and I think a lot of the tropes of the genre can be found in this book. However, I have watched reviews and a lot of people say it's really dated. I don't think the characters, particularly the women, are treated very well in this book. So I'm going to give it a try, but of the books on this list, I'm probably most wary of this one, so let me know what you think of Ringworld. Next is a big classic, and that is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. This, I understand, follows a group of Jesuit missionaries that go off to another planet, and things ensue. I actually tried reading this book many years ago, but I picked it up right after reading The Sparrow, which, spoiler alert, I did not actually enjoy that much. And so when I went on and picked up another sci-fi book, found out it was also about missionaries, I just was not in the mood for it. I think this book is supposed to be an homage to the Canterbury Tales, and I've heard really good things about it. I just don't know if it's going to be for me, but I will definitely give it a try. It is so beloved. I see so many gushing reviews for it online, so I will go back to it. I only got a few pages in and just got turned off as soon as I realized the premise at the time. So I'm going to come back to it, not quite sure when, so please encourage me to pick it up if you think I'm going to enjoy it as much as other people do. Next, we have Foundation by Isaac Asimov, and this, of course, is about a galactic empire that is slowly dying out. The general premise sounds fantastic. It definitely sounds like something that Star Wars was inspired by, but I've also heard that the Foundation series is quite dry in nature, but I am appreciating those books more and more. I have read the Robot series from the author, or at least some of those books, so I kind of know what I'm getting myself into, but kind of not. And again, it's a series that people love so much, so I just have to give it a try and see how it works for me. Next, we have The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, which involves a great inventor who creates a time machine and then goes back in time. And I think I've seen adaptations of this story, so I kind of have an idea of what he finds in his travels. But I want to try this because I really loved The War of the Worlds and want to try more by the author. I've also heard really good things about some of his other books, like The Invisible Man and all that. So it's definitely possible I will swap out one of those for this one. But eventually I do want to get to The Time Machine. It's, again, an iconic classic. I don't know if I'm going to love it as much as War of the Worlds, just because this one I don't think is as terrifying, because it's more about a utopian. He actually might be traveling to the future. You can see how much I know about this book. But regardless, I'm definitely going to give it a try at some point. Next, I have a more modern book, and that is Pandora Star by Peter F. Hamilton, and this is his iconic space opera story that is constantly recommended to me. I recently got a chance to read his novella Light Chaser, really enjoyed it, and so I'm definitely interested in trying his longer work. The length definitely is not putting me off, but I just need to be prepared to spend a while with the book. And I believe this is where I should start with him, or at least start with his full-length novels. So let me know if you think otherwise. But yeah, I'm excited to try this one out. It is so beloved. I hear great things about it online, and I just need to make the time commitment. And I also want to read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, which follows a crew that go to investigate the depths of the ocean. And I've never read Jules Verne before, before, and I think I want to start with this one because I really like deep sea stories. I especially like deep sea horror stories. I don't think this is horror, but I do have a huge fear of open water, so it might become terrifying for me. He also, of course, has other really popular books, so let me know if you think that one of those is stronger. But for the moment, I'm leaning towards this one, and I just want to try his books because I think he's known for writing really great science fiction adventure stories, which isn't something I've read a whole lot of, and I always see his books online and just think I really got to read them, so it's about time I got to one of them. Next is another more recent and popular book, and that is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ashiguri. And this, of course, is a story about a boarding school. I have been spoiled for the element of this book, but everyone assures me that it's still worth reading, that it's just a book that's very iconic, and a lot of people know the twist going into it because of the movie, which I have not seen. But I did enjoy Clara and the Sun, so I am interested in checking this one out. I actually tried reading it a while ago. I read the first couple chapters and it wasn't grabbing me at the time, but after loving Clara so much, I would like to revisit this one because it really is considered to be his best, and I just feel like I didn't give it a proper try. I think I could really love it if I'm in the right headspace when I pick it up, now that I kind of know what type of stories the author writes. Next, I want to read Considering Plevious by Ian M. Banks, and this is another space opera by a very iconic author. I am tempted actually to start with book 2 in this Culture series because it's all about virtual reality, but even though they're companion stories, I do want to kind of start at the beginning and do this properly, and I've heard amazing things about the author, and it's definitely time I try him out, just see if his writing and storytelling works for me as well as it does for everyone else, because I hear amazing things about him online, and yeah, it's about time I gave him a read. Next, I want to read The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, and this is about an emissary that goes to a wintry alien planet where all of the residents there have the ability to choose and even change their gender. And this is my first time reading Le Guin's science fiction, and I would like to start here, even though I understand it's the 4th book in the Heinisch cycle. They're all supposed to be standalones that you can check out. And given the time that it was written, I'm really impressed by some of the themes in this book. Definitely, I love to see books that explore gender fluidity, and I just have heard amazing things about it. I've never really gotten too far into Le Guin's work, so I don't know how her writing's gonna work for me, but again, people love her. She's iconic, definitely one of the most famous female science fiction authors of that time, and like I said, I need to try her out and get an opinion for myself. From there, I want to read Contact by Carl Sagan, and this, I understand, is a hard science fiction story about first contact with an advanced alien race, and given that it's written by Carl Sagan, I expect it to be full of all sorts of interesting factoids, and I'm very eager to try it out. I've never read any of his other nonfiction, and I don't actually know if I've watched any of the shows that he's been on. I just know him as such a iconic figure of science and would just love to try out his book. I've heard it's dense. I know not everyone gets along with it, but again, sometimes those books work really well for me. I enjoy books that challenge me, and so hopefully this one is a big thumbs up and I really enjoy it. And a more modern one on this list is Station 11 by Emily St. Mandel, and this is a post-apocalyptic story that follows a group of Shakespearean actors that go around traveling and putting on plays, and I am interested in reading this one. I'm not sure if it's going to be up my alley. I don't normally read a lot of post-apocalyptic fiction because it doesn't normally appeal to me. I've heard that this one is quite cozy because it's more of an optimistic take on the end of the world. However, I really dislike Shakespeare. I just read too much of it in high school and never really recovered from that trauma, so I'm not certain if I'm going to get along with it. Sometimes I do really well with literary science fiction and sometimes I do not. The author is Canadian, so that is a bonus. So again, it's one I'm just gonna have to try out. Either it's gonna click, I will love it and gush all over it, or it will not work for me and you'll find out about that. So we'll see how it goes. And finally, I want to read Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. And this is another post-apocalyptic story, which is why I have not read it yet, but I definitely want to give it a try. I've loved Butler's other work. I've read Fledgling, Dawn, as well as Kindred, and for the most part really enjoyed them. I like her prose. They're very approachable. She does really good character work and of course, really powerful theming. And a lot of people say that this is one of her best. So even though it's post-apocalyptic, I'm definitely definitely going to try it out and read this as well as the follow-up book. I understand it's kind of an incomplete series, that there was intended to be a third book, but regardless, I do want to read through all of her work and definitely read this unfinished series. So that is it. We've made it to the end of the video here. I would love to hear your opinions down below. Which of the books have you read? Which ones would you recommend to me? And are there other science fiction classics or hard science fiction books that you think that I should read before I redo my top 10 sci-fi books? And by the way, if you haven't yet, please check out that video. I had so much fun filming it. So I'm going to again have it linked in the cards and description box. But if you're new here, consider subscribing. I do read a lot of science fiction as well as thrillers, horror, and some fantasy. And if you enjoyed this video, you can help me out by giving this video a thumbs up, sharing it around online, and hitting that little notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.